So less than a minute to go before our first race. Alex Toth-Jones, what are the nerves going to be like when you're sitting there ready for the first race of the weekend?
I think the first priority is trying to get it off the line well, control the wheel spin, and then see how it goes. Going into turn 2 is going to be really edgy. I think we might see a little bit of contact, but I think we're going to see a great race, especially between Dave and Mike.
Yeah, I would echo that. We would expect nothing less of those two. And here is the iconic view down from the first corner at Abbey. 5 lights are on. Out go the lights, and we are Mini Challenge UK E-Series racing here at Silverstone as they head down into Abbey for the first time. They're going to the left-hander at farmers. Dave Marshall makes a great start from Mike X. Jordan Brennan is in 3rd place. 4th position is Dan Zelar. So Brennan already getting stuck in and having a look in the rig Slick Wally car on the outside line. Jack Mack trying to come up on the inside line of Dan Zelar for 4th position. So we'll see whether Jack Mack can get involved in the fight. He needs to pick back Dave Marshall on the point. He's still fighting on that inside line, just towards the back of shot. Here's an iconic view, coming down Hanger Straight for the first time, and it's Marshall that leads. And thankfully, Alex, good clean stuff at the start.
Yeah, the front of the pack got away really well. I was watching the top-down view, and there was a fair bit of hip and shoulder, shall I say, through the start. I think Ryan Elliott suffered from it, which is a shame. I promised to say nice things about him. I'm sure he'll come back through, but at the front it looks very close, and I think we're on for a good one.
Yeah, we're always on for a good one. Superb racing here at Silverstone on the national circuit last weekend. It's still available for you to watch back, and I would heartily recommend that. Some superb racing last weekend. So Marshall it is that leads them across the line at the end of lap 1 from Mike Epps. Jordan Brennan in P3. Dan Zelar is in 4th, so the qualifying form seems to be bearing out. They go through the left-hander at Farm, then it's the right-hander at Village, through Link, before they get onto Hanger Straight once again. Epps closing up, they'll be keen to try and get away, build a lead, and then possibly fight amongst themselves. Epps was quickest in the practice session this morning, but Marshall grabbing the point. These two guys have really dominated the qualifying. Mike Epps has had 4 pole positions this year. This is the 3rd for Dave Marshall. Wonder if we'll see anybody else next week at Brands Hatch, as Epps starts to just show a little look down the inside line as they come into Stowe Corner. Here we go, on board with Epps.
This could be quite a crucial part of the race. I think Epps has got to decide if he goes for the move and tries to pull a gap, or he sits and tries to pull away from Brennan. If I was Brennan, I'd be quite happy now. I'd be hoping these two have a fight in front and see if I can pick up the pieces. These two just need to get the head down and get away.
Yeah, nice call, mate. Here they come out of Club Corner onto the pit straight. Is this Hamilton down the pit straight? I seem to remember they've named it after Lewis Hamilton, who's got corners named after him here, or straight named after him here, and a corner at the 300 circuit in Snetterton as well. Epps busy chasing very hard. Dave Marshall still out front, so the two 10-10s boys are there. We'll have a look a little bit further back. Matt Richards is there, and looking to come through is Ryan Elliott. Ryan was 14th, so making progress on his recovery off the start. There is Rob Butler coming through in the 74 as well. Rob reading that neatly, going down the inside of Matt Richards, who you can see just loses out there, but will stay in contention. Luke Kidsley 15th, Liam Lambert 16th, trying to get up into the points again is Liam Lambert, again after judicial picking up some championship points for the first time in the last round. Liam Lambert, so he will be pleased to carry on moving up the order. Max Coates mum Karen has said go on Max, of course. Chris Day says come on Simon Rigg, let's grab some more points. Loads of people coming on social media, which is great to see. And there is Luke Kidsley. You can see again, got the scuffs on the side of the car. It has been a physical opening couple of laps. It's Marshall from Epps and Brennan. Dan Zelar rather in 4th place. Jack Mack 5th from Robbie Stapleford and Max Edmondson next up. So you get the sort out, and now they've just got to play for their various positions as we watch going through shot.
See Dave pulling half a second gap on Mike, so I think he's getting his head down and trying to get away now. I think Epps has just got to close that gap back down and cling on for now.
Yeah, they were working with each other in qualifying, as you heard Dave say, but now it's up to him to try and break the toe, isn't it? And get away. There's Tom O'Farrell, the man from Weiler, on board with Jack Noller. And Max Coates has come up into 8th place, so this is again great stuff from Max. We'd like to see him working. Now we didn't feel that, but that definitely looked like a little tap on the back of Max. It doesn't dislodge the car. It was well before the corner, so it can't be seen as a Matt Neal touring car punt. I'm going to get crucified by Matt for saying that as well, but
I think that takes bump drafting to another level, though.
It does. The one championship where you see the bump drafting on the UK circuits work very well is in the National Legends Cars Championship and the Scottish Legends Cars Championship as well. And it's one of the most scary things to see. I can't imagine what it's like as a driver being bump drafted as you head down into somewhere like Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch, where you've got an incredible drop away. But yeah, you're right. That was a little nudge, but I think everybody okay as a result. Nobody losing places. The quick shot of the leaders: Dave Marshall, Mike Epps pulling away. Jordan Brennan in 3rd place. Dan Zelos still in 4th. Good to see Dan Zelos running well there. On for potentially his best finish. He's had a brace of 5ths. And here's the copper piston, Damien Hall at the wheel.
Yeah, he's at the front of quite a nice little train. He managed to make a move into turn 1, and he's got a bit of a gap, so hopefully the cars behind him give him a hand and help him catch the pack. But yeah, quite a good move into turn 1 there for Damien.
Yeah, he's only a place away from the points at the moment. Has a quick rub of the nose, a scratch of the nose as down behind him. We've got Tom O'Farrell coming through as well. O'Farrell, a little bit of contact, left that a bit late. That was a definite.
As I said that, we need to help each other out. They took each other out instead.
Goes to the commentator.
Yeah, my fault.
So, well, some work to do for Damien Hall, who finds himself now down in 20th place. Simon Reed will be chasing him. Jack Davidson 22nd. Craig Timmins, then Alfie Glennie, Liam Lambert 25th. Mike Epps we are looking at now in P2. Trevor Nelson sounded like, I haven't said that for a couple of rounds. He does sound like Trevor Nelson, doesn't he? Have you had that discussion at all?
No, but I will tell him now.
I can't remember who said it at the start of the year, but we were watching some stuff with Trevor Nelson last night, and he does.
It annoys me to watch the onboard of Mike and just to see how relaxed he looks. It's like it's too easy for him.
Yeah, Rich Hayden said he was sending messages during the middle of the race last week. You know, there he was scoring very healthy points last week.
I actually sent Mike a message after that saying, I don't know how you do it. I've done it again. Cursed him again.
This is bringing Jordan Brennan into the mix, so the battle becomes for 3rd now. He was very, very much on the tail of Dave Marshall and having a nibble, but now Jordan Brennan will have a go. Brennan, for me, was superb to watch last weekend because he's a driver whose head doesn't go down. I mean, I said that last week. Apologies for saying it again, but it is very much the case. He loses out a little bit. He fights back, and I've seen so many drivers who let the guard down and let their heads drop if things aren't going their way. And he's got a very good mentality, Jordan Brennan. I'm sure it's different to real world racing because there are so many factors that are different in sim racing, but his attitude in this has been superb. Here's Alfie Glennie on board with Alfie, great view, and was trying to close down on Craig Timmins, but the Marshall here, he had a little bit of a rub, I think, but Mike Epps just ends up with him having a moment as we see Alfie Glennie, the Graves Boat Sport car, on his own. So he had a moment somewhere.
Yeah, he's dropped quite far off the back of the pack. Might have had a moment. I think back to Mike. I think for Mike now, there's 11.5 minutes left of the race. There's plenty of time for him to catch Dave up. I think the top 4 are clever enough to know that the race is not over if they work together. And there you go, Mike jumps in being a 10th quicker than Dave, so it's still all to play for. I think Brennan's in a great spot though for this race.
Looks like we've lost Liam Lambert. I said he was 25th and he's 3 laps down, so he's obviously had a problem, maybe caught up in a skirmish earlier on, which is a pity. Josh Hislop having a go here and finds the inside line on Jack Noller. Ryan Elliott trying to work his way back through the pack as well. The man for the mini car, 3 wide they go here, and it's Hislop and Ryan Elliott through on the inside line. Good bit of battling by Ryan Elliott, and again showing us, what I was saying about Jordan Brennan, not letting his head go down. He lost a few places on that start, as you described, Alex, but fighting hard. The next target for him, metaphorically, is Max Coates in the 71 car, just about to go out of shot.
Nah, that's a great overtake, but it's not over yet. I think as he goes back down the inside. No, Ryan's got it. I think that corner's quite an interesting corner, being it off camber and downhill. It's quite easy to, the move looks like it's really easy to just send it in down the inside. But you've got to think there's a long straight ahead, but Ryan managed to get that one done and cling on. So now he's just got to go and catch Max, which is no easy task.
That's a good perspective. Thank you for that. Dan Zelos has got through into third place. So Zelos looking for a first podium, and Jordan Brennan won't give up the fight. That was great to hear, by the way, Alex, about that corner, because I didn't know that about that camber there. So really good to get the driver's perspective about that as a passing place. But good move by Zelos to get up onto a potential podium. And here's a driver that's growing in sim racing confidence.
Yeah, I can only speak from obviously the touring car race which follows this, and the practice races that I've done for the Mini. Dan's relentless. He definitely puts the practice in, and he's good. He's a good racer as well. He doesn't make it easy, to put it that way, and he's well earned the third place that he's found. He's got a bit of pressure from behind, as we can see on the onboard, but yeah, I think Dave's just starting to edge away now. Which is good for Dave, but not good for the race. But I think it's all going to be about the rest of the podium places now, as we see the rest of the pack start to close in as well.
Marshall to McIntyre, points-wise in this one, there's a gap of 9 points, so we'll take the gap out from 36 to 45. So if Dave can maintain that, if Dave can finish ahead, to finish where they are now, and Dave finishes ahead of Jack Mack in race 2, then it's provisional championship as sim racer to Dave Marshall. But still a long way to go in this one, and Jack McIntyre can cut that deficit in this race. He is the third of the 3-car battle that we're looking at the moment, with Dan Zelos in third. Dan will be keen to try and close down on Mike Epps, but he'll also be keen to bag a third at the very least, because his best result so far, as I mentioned earlier in the race, of 5th position. We're into the second half of this one now. Dave Marshall looking comfortable out front. Mike Epps in P2. I'm not sure if you've got the timing. I'm hesitant to move away and look at the timing screen, but did you say that Epps has got the quickest lap?
Unless I'm mistaken, if I look down the grid, yeah, Mike Epps is currently fastest lap at a 1 minute 11.3. Dave with the 1 minute 11.4, which is shared with Zelos and then Brendan on a 0.5. So the pace is insane.
Matt Richards having a super dice with Luke Kidsley, and Richards with the upper hand there at the moment. Hasn't been on the podium since race 2 of Brands Hatch Indy, the first weekend of the season. But a driver last year, he was up at the sharp end a great deal. Luke Kidsley was on the podium several times last year as well, and that shows how competitive this is. That's for 14th and 15th place, and Dorman behind them. Then Josh Martin and Damien Hall 18th. So Damien's made up a little bit of progress from losing out with that tag earlier on in the race. Up ahead of this battle, we've got Rob Butler and Isaac Smith. Isaac 12th, Josh Hislop 11th. Isaac in provisional pole at the moment. Ryan Elliott's actually ahead of that, so he's going to be near the front of the first grid, but not at the very front of it, as we ride on board with Jack McIntyre trying to hunt down on Jordan Brennan. It's
looking like the first 2 positions may be tied up with 7 minutes to go, but I think third place could be contested as we get into the final bits of the race. I was just about to say that outside bet on Jack McIntyre for a podium, but it's just run a little bit wide there. But I think with the tow around this circuit, I think we're still in for quite an exciting final few laps.
Yeah, I've got to say, I definitely agree with that, Alex. It's not going to be over. It takes a tight run in there. Oh, goodness me.
Very Tokyo Drift.
Jack Mack trying to close in as the Jack Noller still there, ahead of Josh Hislop, so just trying to close in on Jack Noller. Ryan Elliott beginning to build a little bit of a gap now, wants to try and hunt down Max Coates, who is in 8th place. So Max has made progress on his starting position of 12th in this race. Josh Hislop 11th, which is where he started. Isaac Smith is 12th, starting 10th. Matt Richards has dropped down to 14th from his 9th position start. There is Coatsy. It really, as I say, I think he'd be disappointed with that qualifying. You can say on social media between Holly and the race that he needed a little bit of luck to get him up the order.
now Max proves that he's always good at coming through the pack, and he's definitely a racer. I mean, he's inside the top 10, which makes the second race a little bit easier for him. Currently, though, the one that's impressed me the most in this race is Ryan Elliott. To be involved in an incident at the start and then come back through and be inside the top 10 by the end is quite remarkable. I'm not just saying that because I promised I'd say nice things about him. He genuinely earned this one.
You've merited comment, mate. I agree with that for sure.
I had just got a nice little comment from Mike, the producer, when we saw Jack McIntyre going sideways into turn 1. He said it's because he's been driving GT3 cars all week, so he won't be used to it. That was quite funny, but the thing that amazes me is a lot of these sim racers, they're not just doing this one championship, they're doing 3 and 4 at a time, jumping in and out of different cars, and that's the bit that amazes me, that they can just jump in completely different machinery and still be fast and consistent.
Yeah, it's a tall order, isn't it, going from discipline to discipline, and you've got to try and remember what you're in. It's again exactly as you would if you were jumping around in different cars in the real world. Steve proudly says great racing and consistency from Dave Marshall. Echo that. And hi to Laura Lynn, who's a little bit late to the party, but you're very welcome all the same. Laura, good morning to you. So still people joining us on social media, which is superb to see. We're watching the battle for 13th place. Josh Hislop chasing Rob Butler for 12. Matt Richards is in behind, still just under a second the gap between the leader Dave Marshall and Mike Epps in P2. Dan Zelos still in third. He's 1.2 now, 1.3 seconds adrift of the lead pairing, but half a second to the good over Jordan Brennan, who's got Jack McIntyre. The company as Rob Butler comes under pressure. Watch Matt Richards here, going for the cutback on the inside. Richards, I think, has read that well, didn't quite play up for him as they go through the lefts and rights, but you can see the thought process behind that, really trying hard as they come through Link and onto Hanger Straight. He's just trying to see where he can pick up the extra momentum and make the move. Into Stowe Corner we go once again. So there is Richards in the 44 car. Josh Hislop immediately in front of him. The Kinetic Motorsport 23 car, 12th in the championships, had one podium. 10 different drivers have graced the podium so far this year, which shows how competitive the championship is. That's very nearly half the entry have made it up onto the podium. Richards and Hislop having a really good battle here. Richards can't quite find his way through. Luke Kidsley down behind him. Still the divisional pole at the moment with Rob Butler. 2 minutes 53 to go. It is, as Alex Toth-Jones predicted, Marshall from Epps, those two clear. Dan Zelos still in third. The gap's come down. It's now 4 tenths between Dan and Jordan Brennan.
I think we might see a last lap battle for the podium if it keeps going like this. I've been watching the gap for a couple of laps now, and it is just edging down little by little, with Jack McIntyre sat behind in 5th. So I think if I was Jack now, I'd be hoping that there was a bit of carnage in front, especially for the championship. But it's looking all quite neat and tidy, but that gap is definitely edging down, as we see some pretty iconic defending going on. That was pretty aggressive, but Matt Richards has been trying for a lap or two. Hopefully he manages to get it around the outside. There's a lot of runoff. So you can get away with that one.
Yeah,
good positioning for the last corner.
Oh, a little bit of contact between the two, but that was braved up and he held on. There is the mark on the side of the car. Wonderful move by Matt Richards. A good racing from Josh Hislop. Yes, there was a bit of contact. You would expect that, but they both survived it as Hislop looks back on the inside line. Classic bit of mini racing here between the pair of them onto Hamilton Straight, side by side, heading down in towards Abbey, and he's got it back. So Matt Richards has got all the hard work to do again, but super racing between them, and of course it's bringing Luke Kidsley into the mix as they slow each other up.
He goes down the inside. I think this circuit lends itself to competitive racing. Every corner leads on to the opposite of the next, if that makes sense. So you can always get the switchback, you can always get a run onto the straight. I think at this point he's just got to box clever and try and force a mistake out of the car in front, because it's looking very racy in the mid-pack.
It's a good battle, isn't it? And we're looking at the inset of Matt Richards. He's the meat in the sandwich here. He's going to come out as a look down the inside line into Stowe Corner. Let's see whether he can keep that gap there. It's the opposite of where he was on the previous lap. Launches up onto two wheels. Luke Kinsley coming back into the mix as well. So Richards has to go defensive from Luke Kinsley. He's all over him now. This is going to free up Josh Hislop to maybe try and get away, as we've got 40 seconds on the clock now. But yeah, super battle. All this is for 13th, 14th and 15th positions. The inset, you can see the battle for the podium that Alex was talking about. And at the moment it's Dan Zelos in the red and black Zavanti esports car ahead of the Liquid Molly Riggs machine, the 98 car of Jordan Juggy Bear Brennan, who is challenging him for third place. Zelos looking for a first podium. Is he going to be able to hang on to that? 13 seconds on the clock, plus 1 lap to go. So coming down for the penultimate time, the hanger straight. Dave Marshall clear from Mike X. The battle for third is very much on. Jack McIntyre back in fifth. I think you'd have to say that's probably where, unless there's a contretemps between third and fourth, that's where Jack is going to finish. And I'll have to do my point summary after the race, after the podium interview. So we've got to be all over the points as well. But fascinating stuff for third. Has Dan Zelos done enough here to hang on? He's got to work out for another lap. What's Jordan Brennan's best chance, do you think, Alex?
I think it all depends on how this first set of corners go. I think the gap's just gone up to 2/10, so it's still very close. There may be an opportunity into turn 3, but if not, he's got to line him up for the hanger straight, because that's the last big opportunity. Hopefully get Dan to defend and then look for a switchback.
Let's see what he can do. So the Liquid Molly car will fight right the way to the second bag. The clock has run down. Our inset shows race leader Dave Marshall. Pole position for him today. Closing down potentially on a little bit of traffic. It's Craig Timmins who's at the other end of the straight in 24th position. I don't think Craig is going to find himself bothered by the leaders by the end of this one, but it's Marshall from Epps, then Dan Zelos still there from Jordan Brennan. Marshall clear, and it's still by no means settled for that third position as they go very slightly down the gradient out of Stowe Corner towards the left-hander at Vale. That will flick round into the right-hander at Club, but here is Dave Marshall, who will edge his way towards the checkered flag here and win the first of our 2 races today. It is a win for Dave Marshall. Mike Epps in second place from third position. Dan Zelos, a maiden podium for him. We're watching Max Coates, who is in 8th position, up ahead of Jack Noller. It is progress for Max Coates from where he started on the grid. So it's Marshall, Epps, Zelos, Brennan. Jack McIntyre takes 5th position. 6th position goes to Robbie Stapleford. 7th was Max Edmondson. 8th was Max Coates. 9th position going to Jack Noller. Then in 10th position, Ryan Elliott. So good stuff from Ryan Elliott, who finds himself up towards the sharp end for the partially reverse grid race. 11th was Isaac Smith, and pole position for race 2 goes to Rob Butler in 12th position. So that is our top 12. Sure, we'll let you get on with race 2. Congratulations, Dave Marshall. So Dave's target will be to finish ahead of Jack McIntyre. He's got a little bit of leeway over Jack. Already the lights are on for race 2. Rob Butler and Isaac Smith on the front row of the grid for our partial reverse. Out go the lights, and we're ready for another 20 minutes of action here. Silverstone International. Here they come down in towards turn 1. Rob Butler hungry to try and get up onto the podium for the first time. Looks like we've got one car, I think, straggling away at the back, but it's Rob Butler that leads from Isaac Smith. Ryan Elliott, our reverse grid specialist, getting stuck in as well on the outside line, but it's Butler that holds on. Elliott gets tagged, I think. Little knock on the back end from Max Coates in the 71 car. Coming through as well is Max Edmondson in the 04. But, well, a bit of first few corner bunching there, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, typical start of the race. There's always going to be a little bit of argy-bargy. Ryan actually got a really good start then, and then slightly excessive from Max, but they've both ended up all right off the back. But it has meant that the 2 teammates at the front, Rob and Isaac, have got a little bit of a gap, but I'm sure they love to battle each other, so I'm sure there's still plenty left in this race.
Yeah, it's going to be a load to go as Ryan Elliott tries to close down on Max Coates. That's on the inside line there, which converts to the outside. Exactly as Alex Todd-Jones said in race number 1. He's gone through, so Max is past, and Max down into 5th position. Ryan Elliott in 4th, which is Rob Butler that needs to get to the first lap from Isaac Smith. Any of these guys capable of taking the race win. Need to keep your eyes on Jack McIntyre. He's in 6th place. Dave Marshall down in 9th. We're going to try and do some mathematics as we work through as well to see where we are on championship points. They'll largely get thrown out the window with your visuals in any case, but we will try and let you know who is where in each respective championship. Like X down in 12th at the moment. The man that he's looking at, of course, is Max Edmondson in the Real World Championship. Max is ahead of him right now, but I think X probably maybe just done enough to pinch the championship as Coates is on the outside line coming down into Stowe Corner. Max Edmondson trying to close in on these two and get stuck in 4th place. Again, a great shot of Max working hard and trying to get past Ryan Elliott. Let's see whether he can find an inside line. Here is half a gap. He's going to come through. No, he can't, because he realises that he's coming into the S's. So it's Elliott in 3rd place, Isaac Smith in 2nd ahead of him, and Smith and Butler starting to edge clear.
Yeah, I think this is quite a crucial part of the race. I think between Max and Ryan, they need to decide who's the quicker at this part of the race, and then just get on with it and try and catch them, because between Rob and Isaac, if they work together, they could drive off into the distance. But just behind this group of cars, there's been quite a lot of, I wouldn't say carnage, but there's been some interesting stuff going on. A couple of cars running very wide and little bits of door banging here and there. But when you get a reverse grid, it's always the case as the pack starts to close up. But just interesting to see that Dave's already got himself up to 7th place. Mike's having a bit of a slower start in 12th. Dave just seems to find a way of getting it done.
Yeah, he works his way through, he spots those opportunities, he won't take any undue risks. As we watch Max Coates still all over the back, this is the back of this group, and Jack McIntyre is by my maths, depending on fastest laps, 44 points down on Dave Marshall coming into this race, but Marshall is the driver following Jack Mack. So at the minute, McIntyre in 6th place would have brought him 10 points. So Jack's only taking 1 point away. Dave Marshall can bring it down to 43 without fastest laps and poles next time up. As we watch Jack working hard, Dave Marshall with fastest lap at the moment on this one, so the potential point. So Marshall in position to provisionally scoop that 2nd weekend of Mini Cooper racing with the Mini Challenge for this year. And of course, you know, 1 round is a super prize, 2 rounds is going to be absolutely mega. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, having 2 rounds, Dave has carried last year's one through into this year. Sensible decision, I think, Alex, to have 2 racing weekends. He could start to build some momentum, can't he?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I speak to Dave a lot, especially regarding him getting his ARDS test done, you know, so you can actually go and do these rounds. And we knew quite early on that because of the pandemic, it was probably going to be a case of you know, putting it off. But I think if, you know, obviously it's looking likely at the minute, if he gets the 2 rounds, it'll be great for Dave, and be really interesting to see, and hopefully a lot of people watch that round to see how Dave gets on, because I have firm beliefs that Dave is going to be very fast in real life, not just on the sim.
He's one of these annoying people that's good at everything he does, let's be honest.
yeah, it's always the case.
But to be fair, again, it's because he puts the work into what he does.
Yeah, the amount of time Dave puts in is, you know, it's commendable, really. I mean, every time I jump on to have a practice, he's on, or he's coaching somebody, or he's working on his own setup, and yeah, I mean, he deserves the results he gets because he puts the hard work in. But yeah, I think there's a fair bit of natural ability to go with it.
I definitely agree with that one, and I am joking though when I say about being annoyingly good at everything you do. It is the work you put in anything in life. Super Battle going on for the lead, you might have seen a little knock that we had Isaac Smith on the back of Rob Butler, up into 3rd place now, and clear is Max Coates. He was our 10th driver to grace the podium in our last round. Jordan Brennan looking to try and close down on Matt Richards, and he's got Mike X and Dan Zelos right behind him at the moment, so the podium finishes from race 1 right in the mix. It's getting very frenetic. 4th place for Ryan Elliott, Jack McIntyre and Dave Marshall, 4th, 5th and 6th position at the moment. This great group of cars. Brennan in the mix trying to hunt down on Richards. Richards in turn looking at Jack Nolan. A bit of a gap here for Jordan Brennan to squeeze through the Nick Pioli car on the inside line. The Nick Pioli Riggs car as they go along Hamilton Straight is on the inside line. Coates goes through in third and clear at the moment, but Rob Butler doing a sterling job out front. We know he's quick. He was a regular on the podium last year. I hope that both he and Isaac Smith will get the chance to chat to them, as Matt Richards again is challenged here by Jordan Brennan on the outside line. Brennan's got to be careful not to leave the door open for Mike Epps. He doesn't do that, or does he now, because Epps coming back up to play here. Some really good shots that you can see. Silverstone generally regarded as a flat circuit, but you can see there are some subtle gradients, which Alex was talking about in race 1.
Yeah, it's not an easy circuit for its length, you know, as we see what looks like it's still lap 1 with everyone door banging inside to side and 3 wide down the straight. There we go. It looks like there could be a few moves going on down into the final set of corners.
Yep, so coming into the complex on the inside line, Max Edmondson to his outside, Jack McIntyre. Again, a bit of a shake of the head for him. It's probably a good job we're not lip syncing on being able to lip read there. Maybe not too happy with himself. That goes on the outside line of Max Edmondson. All this 4th, 5th position. Still Butler, Smith and Coates out front. Edmondson giving the 37 car a good old workout here. So Jack Mack under some real pressure from Max Edmondson. Robbie Staple put in 7th. Nice to see Robbie climbing up towards the sharp end of things again. Driver who has had 2 podia so far this year, qualified 2nd in the opening round of the year and 2 second positions. Both, I think, in reverse grid races, but very much capable of getting onto the outright podium and outright wins in the fastest first races, if we'd like to call it that. Here's the view from ex-Matt Richards there as well, and Josh Martin coming through on the inside line as well. Very well read by Josh, sees the gap there, dives up the inside line, and is Josh Martin going to complete this against Matt Richards?
I was impressed that there was no contact going in there. It's so easy on the way into Stowe.
Dan Zelos gives it
as I say it. But yeah, it just shows that the mini racing is so close. You can't make a mistake. If you drop a tenth, half a tenth, it's massive, and you can. It reminds me of a bit of like competitive karting, Super 1. With you don't just lose one place, you lose 6 all in one go. I don't think there's many sim championships out there that are as close and competitive as this at the minute. One thing I did notice, I think we had a small issue with Ryan Elliott. He looked like he was inside the top 10 and he's dropped just outside. I think he's 13th now, so he's having a bit of a mare. Again, I feel for him. I feel like it's my fault I've cursed him.
He's certainly been involved in some physical racing. There was a little bit of a run with Max Coates earlier on in the race. Not sure if it was on the repass, but certainly in the earlier laps. Mark Helen on social media says Simon Reed showing why he's the people's champion. 23rd place at the moment for Simon Reed. So keep your tweets and social media comments going. And Rob Butler under some big pressure there from Isaac Smith. He was going through now. Is Isaac Smith in fact into the lead? So Smith passes Butler for the race lead. Are we going to get another new winner here? Isaac Smith has had 2 podiums so far this year and goes in front. Neat move over Rob Butler. Yeah,
Rob got a little bit sideways coming out of the complex there. I don't know whether there was a little bit of contact or it was just a mistake, but like I said early on, it was important that them two kind of worked together, got their head down and got away, and it looks like that's not been the case, and it brings Max Coates, but not only Max. Look, we've got Dave Marshall in 4th, closing in again.
Closing up, just starting to do a little bit of maths for the Mike Epps scenario. Max Edmondson picked up 8 points, so goes on to 132 points, and Mike Epps will be on 195, 192, so 60 points. It's really going to be, it's going to be Epps. I think he's doing enough here to wrap up the drivers, the real world drivers side of things at the moment. 60 points will be his call, and 44 points Marshall over Jack McIntyre. So remember, everything provisional. It's very provisional because of my Max. As we look at Max Coates trying to go down the inside line of Rob Butler, we'll come back to the mathematics in a minute. And Butler is about to be passed, or is he, by Max Coates, who looks down the inside line. Butler hangs on to 2nd position. and Coates loses out just a little bit there, but he's fighting. Oh, now Butler goes wide, and Coates is through up into second place.
It looked like Rob defended that quite hard, and then had to bail on the exit and go across the access road, which you do lose quite a lot of time. Obviously, Max has got himself into second now. There's a 1.5 second gap to Isaac, but if they work together, like I say, it's the crucial thing on this circuit with the toe being so important. And as I say that,
he's not going to work with him.
No, knowing Rob, Rob doesn't like to lose any positions. He'll be fighting hard for it. As long as Rob can finish on the podium, he'll be happy. And Dave's here to pick up the pieces.
Absolutely right. You know, we call Jack McIntyre the silent assassin, but that's exactly what the machine Dave Marshall has done, chipping away. And Marshall here from 12th on the grid. He's now knocking on the door of the podium. He's very nearly there. He's got his nose in front at the moment as we look. Max Coates in P2, and Marshall's going to come through into second place. If we go watch, this is on the inside line. So he's side by side with Butler at the moment. He's side by side with Coates, who's actually back now, and goes through into second position. So well done, Dave Marshall, 12th on the grid. Isaac Smith, your race leader at the moment from Dave Marshall. Max Coates still in third. Rob Butler will be determined to try and get on the podium as well. Coates back on the inside line, reclaims second position. Coates versus Marshall. Superb stuff between the pair of them. I think it was actually, I was talking about the comment about Trevor Nelson sounded like Mike Epps. That came, I think, from the pre-season chat I had with the defending champions, Max Coates and Dave Marshall. They're having a fine battle there. But look at the train of cars. And now look at Dave Marshall as he comes out of the slipstream, down the inside line into Stowe and up into P2.
Yeah, I think Dave sees it's quite crucial now with 7 minutes left to go that he gets in the lead and gets on with it to catch Isaac. There's as much as there's 7 minutes left, time runs out very quickly when you start to battle. I think if Dave can get clear, I think there's still an opportunity to win this race, but I think Max has got to play ball, which, you know, at the end of the day, I'd want a podium as well.
I think Max is going to play ball. I reckon he'll want to try and slipstream with Dave and try and catch up with Isaac, because if they work together, they've got the chance. They've both got the chance of that win. But Isaac Smith has got a good lead, 2.7 seconds at the moment. Marshall second, Coates third, Rob Butler in fourth. Don't discount Rob Butler at all. Jack Mack in fifth position. Max Edmondson is in sixth. Robert Stapleford, who we ride on board with, and Robert Stapleford goes through into sixth place. Very neatly done there by Robert Stapleford. But Max Edmondson closing up and side by side with him, with a door handling between the two, and Stapleford stays in front. Down behind them is Jordan Brennan in eighth place in white and red. Then Mike Epps. Epps having a somewhat more relaxed race here in ninth place, up ahead of Matt Richards. So we're looking at this early stage that provisionally having two champions crowned, and as I say, by maths is provisional, and the results of course are provisional until all the judicials are done, but we'll be able to provide you with a clearer picture of the points on the introduction to next week's final programme. Butler again getting a little bit tail happy there, under big pressure for fourth place with Rob Stapleford.
Yeah, there's a lot of I'll tap you tap me, all fair and square. Getting a little bit feisty in the mid-pack, should we say. Hopefully it doesn't end in anything too disastrous, but it means it's close racing, I guess, as we go into turn 3. Rob's defending quite hard. I think he's getting a lot of contact as, again, managed
Butler
to save that.
Butler gets attacked. Max Edmondson around the outside line to go fourth now. Coming up into the mix as well is Mike Epps. Suddenly from nowhere he's dicing for some serious points and looking at the inside line on Rob Butler. Jack McIntyre up into fourth as a result of that. Max Edmondson fifth. Rob Butler sixth from Mike Epps. And here come the second and third place cars, Dave Marshall and Max Coates. The gap has come down. It was 2.5 seconds. It's now 2 seconds between Smith and Marshall. Coates and Marshall having a bit of a battle, but effectively still managing to find time to work with each other and cut the gap to Isaac Smith, who is out front. All of these northern-based drivers, aren't they? The Yorkshireman Isaac Smith, the north-easterner Dave Marshall, Yorkshireman Max Coates as well.
Yeah, I think Yorkshire's where it's at, to be honest, speaking personally.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah, a little bit biased. However, when I speak to Dave, he says I'm not a real northerner. I'm practically Midlands, but it's because when you're a Geordie, it's even further north. I'm sure it's cold up there.
like telling us that it is cold at the moment. Sun's shining down here in South East London, I've got to say.
Yeah, it's quite a nice day here too.
Isaac Smith down the Hanger straight, and what's the gap? He's holding it at the moment at just over 2 seconds from Dave Marshall, Max Coates. They do need to work together. I think they are working together. You can see that they've broken away from Jack McIntyre, who's in 4th position behind them. And Max will probably, you know, from a racer's perspective, your thoughts are going to be, okay, I'll work with this guy towards the last few laps of the race, maybe the last lap, and we'll see whether we can get close enough to Isaac. If not, then that is the time to sort it out. That's got to be the racecraft mentality, surely, Alex.
100%. If I'm Max now, I'm thinking I can still win this race. You've just got to box clever and follow Dave and let Dave do the hard work and sit in the toe and catch Isaac, and then hope that in the last bits of the race when there's a battle, you can capitalise on it. They had a little bit of a battle, and as I say that, there was a lovely bit of hip and shoulder into turn 1, which is very common. Realising in the last few laps, Robbie Stapleford's had a fair few knocks either side, so he's getting very close in the midfield, shall we say.
Yeah, he's definitely been in the wars. Dan Zelos down behind him, so Zelos moving up into 8th place. Jordan Brennan now 9th. Ryan Elliott back up into 10th. Ryan's been in the wars in this one as well, but again, great fighting spirit from Ryan Elliott, back into the top 10. Liam Lambert's in the points again, he's in 14th. Damien Hall in the points in 15th. Josh Hislop ahead of them. So great news, and well done Liam Lambert and Damien Hall. We mustn't forget about our point scorers. It's Isaac Smith now, the gap, 1.3 seconds, Isaac Smith to Dave Marshall and Max Coates. The gap is coming down for the lead. We're riding on board with Max Edmondson chasing Jack McIntyre. Jack McIntyre's going to be a hard man to catch and pass when we get that workout going on. There is Ryan Elliott, got himself onto the back of Juggy Bear, so Jordan Brennan is in front of him. Robbie Stapleford, being told, has retired. Dan Zelos is in 7th place. Mike Epps in and around him. But there is Ryan Elliott still very much in the mix as well. But the gap, 1.2 seconds. It's a drive-through. So Robbie Stapleford gets a drive-through. Well done for him for executing that. Catching the curve there was Matt Richards in the Sancho Sim Sport car, and 9th in the championship. Man, he's a little bit away from the podium in this one, but just goes to show how curbing it can really throw the car offline and how precise it has to be, Alex.
Yeah, going back to the penalties, this circuit's really strict with the track limits. It's quite easy. When you're in the race, you get 4 warnings, and obviously every time you run over the back of the red and white curve, you get a warning. Once you've exceeded the 4th warning, you get a drive-through penalty. So I imagine there's a number of drivers that are sat on their 3rd and 4th warning, having to drive very carefully not to get a drive-through and obviously drop massive positions. I do feel for Rob Butler. He looks like he's having an issue and he's dropped out the race. He has been subject to a fair bit of carnage in this one, and obviously it's gone wrong for him. To say he was up fighting for the lead at the start. The gap for the lead seems to have settled at around a second with not long left to go, so I'm going to put my neck out here and say I think Isaac might have this.
This is what it's about as well, this battle that we've got here. Alfie Glennie and Simon Reed having a superb battle for 21st position, and Alfie's on the inside line. They've got just as much support, maybe if not more, as other drivers on the grid, so it's good to see them having a fight. The Grace Motorsport man on the inside line. Reedy's going to get him back though for 21st position. Absolutely superb stuff. Ahead of them, Kenny Press, who's not seen great deal of, running in 20th place, and Tom O'Farrell. But Alfie Glennie's got to try and close down on Simon Reed and get back as we look at the inset shot. The race leader, Isaac Smith, still there. 1.1 seconds. We are on the final lap. It looks like Isaac Smith is going to have done enough to hang on to this and crosses the line. Dave Marshall still is in P2. Max Coates in 3rd place from Jack McIntyre. Great battling going on wherever we look at the moment.
Yeah, it just shows the strength of the grid and the competitiveness throughout the grid. Hopefully, even if it's for 22nd, drivers like Alfie Glennie and stuff, they look at this and they come back for next year and try and improve and make progress, because it's not all about winning and taking the championship, you know, some people, you know, we need to see improvements year on year, and it's mega that these drivers are coming and doing it, enjoying it, even if they're finishing, you know, 20th, 22nd. As long as they improve and they enjoy it and they come back next year, that's the main thing.
Matt Richards raises a hand off the wheel there, a little bit of despair, but it's Isaac Smith who leads this one. You can see Dave Marshall has broken clear of Max Coates. He's closing in. He hasn't been able to get too much closer to the 1-2-3 car, and it's going to be the Riggs Esports Racing Team car of Isaac Smith who is going to take his first win of the season. Superb stuff from Isaac Smith, the third podium of the year, crosses the pit wall virtually as he takes the win. Dave Marshall in second place, provisional champion of the Sim Racers. Max Coates completes the podium. Great to get Max up on for his first podium interview. It's not his first podium of the year, but it'll be great to have a chat with him. Jack McIntyre is fourth from Max Edmondson. Mike Epps comes through from 11th on the grid for 6th place. Dan Seeloss 7th from Jordan Brennan and Ryan Elliott. Matt Richards completing the top 10. The point score is completed by Josh Martin. Hard race for him. Josh Hislop, Liam Lambert in the points again. 13th place for him. Well done, Liam. Jack Noller 14th. The points finishes completed by Damien Hall. Dogging leading from the Copper Piston in 15th place. Just out of the points was Andy Dorman